Major John C., or sometimes I would consider myself as a retired Admiral of Starfleet Command of Starbase 53. Water, by the way, thank God for that cold ice. You ever done a comic convention before? This year at San Diego Comic-Con, they're celebrating an old friend. I call him an old friend because I read many of his books. I met the man a couple of times. He seemed to be like an old friend. I've read many of his works, seen his works. I even had one of his books signed, oddly. And I still treasure them. One of them was written by Isaac Asimov, and he put it Isaac Ray Bradbury. I'm sorry, Ray Isaac Bradbury. That's a joke. But on this particular book, I didn't care. It was cool. I met him back in the 80s when I was going over to Pierce College. Between 85 and 88. And somewhere in that time, he had an informal chat of sorts in our performing arts building on top of the hill over at Pierce College in Winnetka. That must have been a packed house, because there was a lot of people in there who wanted to meet the man who made their journey through science fiction and literature and art and whatever they had. He made it possible. He made it plausible. And he made it to where you felt comfortable. He talked to you about his work, his life, his he liked to get around on buses and cabs and hated driving. He also hated flying and took trains. He was basically a guy on the ground. He didn't like to drive. He was scared to death of driving. No wonder I liked the guy automatically, because he related to me and I related to him that way. Well, he said he liked to take buses and trains. He had somebody drive him over. He wasn't comfortable in his own skin regarding driving on the road, and I didn't blame him one bit. Because when I saw him, I saw like an uncle in my family. We've all had those kind of quote-unquote uncles. Never part of the family genetically, but adopted into it. And that was Ray Bradbury. I never had the chance to see or even meet Isaac Asimov. Man's brilliant. Man was brilliant. Mathematics, engineering, robotics. You swear he invented robotics, but he didn't. But he just invented laws for it a long time ago. Ancient, very ancient times. Somebody actually drew up plans and put them in the city of Alexandria before the place was burned. Plans for automatons. Someone actually thought ahead. Asimov wrote about robots. He created the 3 laws, and then there's 4 laws, 0 law. And his Robot series continued through the Empire and Foundation series, and the Harry Seldon series. When he passed away, he never did do any of the background for Harry Seldon, one of the main characters in the Foundation trilogy that drove it. But it was all part of a master plan of sorts, if you looked at it, really. A lot of novels had connections towards a bigger universe. And the newer audience from the 80s on picked up on Asimov's work, picked on his brain cells, and created a vast, more of an expanded empire of his universe. Sometimes more believable than Star Trek or Star Wars. But it was out there. I was a lot younger. I thought I could handle it. Wow. But in dealing with that level of intellectualism, it stunned me. It stunned me and astounded me. I even seen it through Ray Bradbury's work concerning about his famous Martian Chronicles. I mentioned the Illustrated Man. That was a hard one to see. He made a movie out of that one. That was psychotic. But he did move in different ways. Martian Chronicles, trying to tell how man was going to land on Mars and live there and survive. Meanwhile, the rest of the Earth was perishing. There was a small story that an English class I was in was going over. And regarding one particular story of the Chronicles, which God, I had the entire Chronicles series. It was fantastic. I still need to get it. It dealt with one house, an automated house, trying to survive and live, function as it normally did, programming-wise. The only problem is there was only so much it could do before it started breaking down and destroying itself. Not even realizing it. The family disappeared a long time ago through nuclear flash. But the house lived as it only did. There were supposed to be routines, alarms, breakfasts to be had, food to be gathered, food fixed, food tossed. Did that for, I don't know, some amount of time according to the story. But the people in the town, and there was also, what made it very poignant is he put in a starving dog. That's what really hit home. I'm a dog lover. Anything regarding animal cruelty or anything concerning about dogs, well, bleeding heart. I was writing about that poor dog. I was trying not to have any kind of emotional outbursts in the class because I really felt for that character he wrote. How would it be if, in a flash, humans were dead? We were just charcoal on walls. We were images. We were burned into the paint of what we did before we passed away. And what would happen if our dogs were still alive? Some people might call it fascinating, other people might call it something else. It hurts. It hurts. Because seeing that kind of a future, reading about a kind of future like that, when an end had come and destroyed a lot of life, and only a starving dog lived. It puts a pause. It puts an emotional pause. And here's the thing. Going over this kind of particular subject matter regarding animals at this point over here hurts like hell, because I'm putting myself in the same situation, and it's scary as hell, and I'm hurting over this. Actually, I'm stressing like crazy over this, because so before, I'm a dog lover. I'm a dog owner. I've owned a lot of dogs in my lifetime. Took care of a lot of them. And their family. The story played emotional havoc and played a lot of strings on me, basically. The word is kind of weird-ass musical interlude was going on in my head while I'm trying to read this stuff and answering questions and giving answers to the students and to the instructor, while trying not to break down at the same time, because this damn thing's emotional. It's playing on my heartstrings. I mean, to think about it, what happens if we happen to get into a situation like that? Or one day we wake up and we're toast, or we're dead, we're laying around all over, and the animals are alive. Our own pets, our own animals, our own... We'll put a lot of human emphasis, a lot of character traits on the dogs, on our animals, on our chargers, our wards, whatever kind of word that would come to you. But for me, it's family. And that hurts. If Ray Bradbury was still alive, I'd talk to him about this one. You know, the hardest thing, and I think maybe it was intentional that he put the dog in there, because he wanted a point of view. He wanted a certain point of view, and he wanted a certain character to react to what was going on around. And not many people picked up on it. But while I was reading that story, I'm like, oh shit. I had seen the 1970s version of the Martian Chronicles. They had a few major stars on this miniseries. It was a 5-night miniseries on Channel 4. Wasn't on Channel 2, I don't think, but it was on Channel 4. And they showed a lot of... Sorry. I have something wrong with an ear. I was going to get the damn thing, forgive me. It showed a lot of theatrical work in the thing, and where people had to adapt into being the term Martians, because Earth no longer mattered. Earth was dead. Earth killed itself. So whoever was on Mars had to be living on Mars. Had to be called Martians. And in that movie, there were different sections of the Martian Chronicles being portrayed. The original inhabitants saw the invasion of Earth. Some of them tried to make friends, others tried to kill them. Others just died off. And there was one particular episode where humanity actually tried to recreate its own cities, its own little towns. And then the survivors are scattered among a few. there was one particular episode, if I'm not mistaken, that this one guy was totally lonely in hell, and he finally picks up a telephone, an old-fashioned telephone with cord and stuff, with a call box. He finally picks up on a call from somebody trying to find out if there's anybody else left on Mars. And he finds himself in a gyrocopter. He flies off to this area and sees another part of town where this woman's at. And he finds her totally unappealing in every way, shape, or form. And he says, screw this noise, I'm going to value my freedom at this point. He takes off. She's furious, and she's bellyaching, and she's tearful and frightful that she'll never see this guy again. Word has relationships. I don't know if he ever meant to do that one or not, but the last story I remember, the last episode of it, Rock Hudson had his family transported from Earth before they went nuke. I mean, global nuke. And Rock Hudson blew up a ship as soon as they established their home on Mars. And I guess for a long while, my kids had asked them, well, where are the Martians? And they're at an aqueduct full of water. And he points into the images and say, they're the Martians. And he sees the family. A lot of assumptions during that time concerning about what Mars is supposed to be before we actually had the Viking lander. We had imagination to make us travel to different places in different situations, until we had to see for ourselves what the actual situation was. People would prefer the fantasy because we didn't like the reality. But fiction, fantasy, science, all that was a way to go beyond our box, a box of understanding, to imagine, if you will, what's beyond here, what's beyond our home, what's beyond our own limitations, our own dreaded existence. What could be done, what can be done, what is be done, what was done. That's why I liked science fiction. That's why I liked writers. That's why I got into Asimov, Roddenberry, when he was doing the Star Trek stuff. They called him Wagon Train to the Stars. The Federation of Planet going to the stars and searching out new life forms and new civilizations. The moment we go where no man's gone before. No, I'm not going to complete the rest of it. But still. I hadn't been to a convention in a hell of a long while. And the last time I'd been to a convention was up over 30 frickin' years ago. When I was young and insane. And out working my ass off all the damn time. The last time I'd been to a convention was back in '87 when we actually had an earthquake on that same day where Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner were doing the last of the two-man show across the country. They were calling it quits. Anaheim was supposed to be the last place. Wouldn't you know, we had the Whittier Darrow was ripping up like crazy. Oh, God. Oh! Some of the fans never liked that day, that's for sure, but I loved it. My brother thought I was insane. I said, yeah, I probably am, but I hate earthquakes, but I'm not missing this damn thing. Forget it. last time, a long time ago. So, attending a convention, I have no idea what the hell I'm going to be in for at this point over here. We're talking about a virtual situation where you just go on the computer screen, log in, and just look around, see what the hell's going on. If anybody gets you on camera, they get you on camera. And if not, oh well. I was supposed to dress up as a nerd? What's wrong with the shirt?